If there's something strange in your swampy hood, who you gonna call? Swamp Hopper! If there's something bad and it don't look good, who you gonna call? Swamp Hopper! I ain't afraid of no croak. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Unlike every other live streamer on YouTube, I'm not waiting 5 minutes for everybody to show up. They can just watch the beginning again or whatever it takes. But we're going to jump right in. This has been a very exciting. Look how big this is. Look at my tiny arms in this giant book. Let's go back. We're going to go through a lot of this book tonight. Look at my tiny arms in this giant book. Let's see who's joined us. Michigan Swamp Hopper in the house. All right, I'm getting a glare right there. How do I stop the glare? Okay. Maybe I'll put something underneath there to get rid of that little glare. Little glare. How about a gun? No, that's not a gun. That's a dart case. I thought it was a gun case. All right, let's put a dart case, not a gun case, underneath here. Let's just try flat again. I went out and I ordered, I didn't go out, actually I sat in the same chair I'm in right now and I ordered some nice tabletop covers just for this moment in time. And Gibby's in the house. Gibby, look at this giant book. This is 11 by 17. All right, but we're going to start closer to the back. We're going to probably do a read through soon. I want to start here and introduce characters. This is the last page of our 28-page comic book. And 28 pages is a lot of pages today. This particular comic book, which we'll talk about later, has 16 pages. This is a DC comic, Suicide Squad of some type, #1. All DC is doing is putting out #1 episodes and putting them in Dollar Trees because #1 episodes evidently sell better. Which is why we will be pushing this comic book for a full year at least. And that full year will include, so what we have here is the autograph page. And the autograph page is on the back of every single copy. If you're getting the free ash can, and the ash can consists of 8 pages of this without giving away too much. The ash can has this on the back. The book that you'll get on Amazon, hopefully, will have this on the back. But to get Swampy's autograph, you're going to have to be involved in the Kickstarter. So my autograph will be on a lot, not all. Easy to get. But the one you want is Swamp Hopper. So there'll be 2 autographs on the back of your book. We got a lot to explain. I'm going to tell you what happened. I got this done in exactly 4 Sundays, in exactly 1 month. I started, it might have been March 5th. I actually got done with the whole thing without editing starting February 15th. I think I ended March 5th. Those should both be Sundays. And then it was another week. I ended up adding 2 pages because I had my page count wrong. I found out that the printer is not counting the cover and the inside cover and the back cover and the inside of the back page. I wish I could show you the inside of the back page without blowing. I will. I can. Okay. So the back of every magazine, the inside back cover has Sherry Lynn, who, like Swamp Hopper, is a real person. This is actually the girl that I've had a crush on since I was 15, 16 years old. And I have her permission saved in a text for legal reasons that I can use her. The legal reason is I can't shop this to any movie studios, which we're going to get into. I have a bunch of independent movie studios that want to see comic books for movie ideas. But I have to have a clean title. So my editors, Sherry, Swamp Hopper, are all going to give me a clean title. Everybody except for Swamp Hoppers is going to say the same thing. Everybody's is going to say, I do not have a personal interest or property in this book. Swamp Hopper is going to say, I don't own this book, but every dollar that son of a bitch makes, I get 50 cents. Which is kind of good, because if I ever get sued, Swamp Hopper doesn't get sued. He's got no legal attachment to this book. But if I make $1 outside of my own investment, so if some movie company says, we'll give you $30,000 to option that book, or we'll give you $6,000 to option that book, then if I say yes, Swampy gets half of everything. Any toys that are made that I don't put up the money for, Swampy gets half of everything. That's how this works. So he's got nothing to lose. He's got something to gain. And the whole reason I did this was because I figured the Lord might bless me if I'm going for wealth and I'm bringing someone who's as unwealthy as me along. That's what I figured. If two poor guys team up, will God bless us? That's the question I'm asking. I could have done this on my own and called this book anything. But Swamp Hopper is such an intriguing person, and the fact that he's a real person is really the meat and the potatoes behind selling the book. There's a real guy behind this. Okay, he never fought Bigfoot, but the first page we'll talk about that. So we're going to meet our characters first. Let's meet our characters. Okay, this is Miss Lily. Can you see her okay? Miss Lily is a woman who was instrumental in raising our fictional Swamp Hopper. And she's a badass woman. And we'll find out more, because we will be going over that. Okay, by the way, this card says 00. That means the only way you can get, this is going to be a jumbo trading card. The trading cards are going to be, this is a big secret here, and everybody's going to copy my ass as soon as I do this. Everybody in comic books is going to copy my ass, because everybody in comic books is trying to sell trading cards, and nobody fucking, pardon me, I'm sorry, nobody freaking wants them. So when you get a comic book, it comes in a plastic bag, and it has a cardboard backing. This is going to be printed on this. So it's a jumbo trading card. And the only people who are going to get a Miss Lily card are going to be like 3 people in our Kickstarter. 3 people will get this card. Maybe more out, I'm going to kick it around with people and see what they think. But 3 top backers who go for the top kicker. And I'm not asking you to get in on the Kickstarter. I'm not selling a Kickstarter here. If you want to get in on it, great. If you don't want to get on it, great. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. I'm trying to share my experience here of making an American comic book, and you're going to see how American it is in a minute. We're going to get into that, and there's a very cool story behind how American Explore America is making this comic book. So we got a Miss Lily, and this is her jumbo trading card, which will be shrunken down and put onto this piece of paper, this piece of cardboard. And every single mailing I do, for instance, I am making a mini comic book that will have 8 pages in them. The mini comic book is exactly this size here. Okay, this is a digest size, they call it. It's Ashcan. Ashcan means Ashcan comics came from comic book companies trying to protect their character, their rights, and prove copyright at the earliest time possible before their character ever saw a comic book. So these would come out. Ashcans kind of got frowned upon by the government because they weren't ever putting out the comic book and they were just trademarking the shit out of a bunch of characters and copywriting. Trademark takes three. If I put out a comic book, a poster, and a coffee mug of Swamp Hopper, I could trademark my drawing of Swamp Hopper. Okay, so I'm printing 300 of these ash cans. This is the ash can. Okay, and because I have such giant print, this is impossible to read. Mine will be extremely easy to read for an old person to open this size book and read the Swamp Hopper comic. I'm also making full 28-page comic books this size, and I'm making them regular size. Okay, let's get into that. By the way, the guy who's doing the printing, or the company that's doing the printing, produces this comic book. And I just got these in the mail today, and I wanted to see his work to see what I'm getting. And actually what I'm getting here, we haven't even gotten into the characters yet. I'm going off the rails. Here's what I mean by American comic book. Okay, here is the printer's sample. I paid $17 for these 2 samples, but 7 of it was for shipping because he gets a tracking number, which I didn't need. So this is a traditional American comic book, and it has the semi-glossy or glossy cover, and then the newspaper print pages. Okay? This is actually really heavy duty. I think it's 60-pound newsprint, but it is newsprint. No one does newsprint anymore. No one. As a matter of fact, this is a DC comic book. This is the style they do them in now. And the cover is a satin, semi-glossy, probably satin, thinner stock than this actually is by quite a bit. And every page is the same type. So if you buy a new comic book today, every single page is exactly the same paper as the cover. I don't want that. Although when we end up on Amazon, this is the only way you're going to be able to get it, because the printer is just going to be for money out of my pocket, me ordering X number of books. And we can get into that later and the prices, and I'm going to show you everything, what I'm going to be dumping most likely into this project. So let's meet the characters. Miss Lily, 00, very, very rare. Sasquatch. Now you'll notice I use the word Sasquatch here. He's kind of in the Burt Reynolds pose here, and I thought that was funny. So he's going to be card 0. Everyone who's involved in the Kickstarter will get the 0 card. And no one else for the rest of history will ever get the Sasquatch, the gold Sasquatch 0 card. This is the platinum 00 Miss Lily. This is the Sasquatch gold. And then these cards, 1 through 9, will be randomly available with whatever magazine. You order one through the mail, I send it to you, you'll randomly get this. So we're meeting our characters. The hero, Swamp Hopper. Let's see if there's a glare. Not really. I wonder if that's... Trying to make sure. Oh, Ross is in the house. By the way, Ross, I have not forgotten about our trying to figure out that situation. I just can't get my plug to work, and I'm going to buy one of those cheap magnet batteries where you don't have to plug in the phone. You just put it on the little stand and it charges. Okay, this is Running Bear, kind of like a mentor type for Swamp Hopper, about 20 years older than Swamp Hopper. This is a 1985 GMC Sierra, the exact same truck that was driven by the Fall Guy. If you guys don't know why am I talking louder? I'm wearing a microphone today. If you guys don't know the influence of the Fall Guy, of course, everybody can agree to the $6 Million Man. Before Judy ever made me a Red Step Stacker hat, I walked around with the Fall Guy. Okay, so same truck that you'd find in the Fall Guy right here in red and white. I originally wanted to go all balls out on the paint and just make a new Dukes of Hazzard car that everybody would love. But I thought everybody loved the Fall Guy truck, and it wasn't very customized. Deputy Bolo. Deputy Bolo. He is a POS, and we're going to learn a lot about him. Now here's the Bigfoot card. Number 5 is the Bigfoot card. So we got a Sasquatch card, same guy. There's kind of a joke in the book, and we'll get to it because we'll probably read up to that tonight. And then the other, even these vehicles I'm considering characters. A 1942 Harley Davidson WLA. W stood for 45 cubic inch flathead. And L, I can't remember what it stands for. And the A is for America. There's the WLC, which is the Canadian model. And if that tank looks familiar, guys, this was the bike that this bike turned into the K Harley, and then the K Harley turned into the Sportster. So if that tank looks familiar, that's why. Except for this one's got big knobby tires. Then we have Sheriff Bolo. Did you notice the name? Deputy Bolo, Sheriff Bolo. Another POS, not a good guy, in our story. And then we have Nashoba and her pups. His Swamp Hopper sidekick is his Red Wolf, and I've studied to make sure that a Red Wolf would be in the swamp. And yes, in the northern swampy areas, I actually have a swamp out in my backyard, and I got wolves there. Except for the one that I saw was about the size of a pony and had a mane like a lion and was jet black. So Nashoba is in the book. About a third of the way through, and I think we're going to stop the book tonight right before we run into Nashoba. And the reason why I'm reading half the story to you guys is because no one is going to, watching this video, is going to buy the comic book because they want the story. They're doing it out of love for the channel. Although the story, in my opinion, is better than any comic book story probably since the early 2000s. Because I wrote it according to the rules of Second City and by literal words that came out of Stephen Carell's mouth into my ear Saturday morning, 10:30 at Second City in a writing class that I paid $175 for 10 weeks for. Sherry Lynn. She's actually a real person. As I mentioned before, I got a little note from her that says that I can use her likeness in her name, and she's not expecting to get paid. Now, if this movie options, there's probably a few grand in it. Who knows? A few grand to a lot of few grand. For, if it's an independent company, it's probably not going to be more than 10 grand, I'm guessing. But an independent film company that wants to make a Bigfoot movie with a new style hero, it's a possible reach thanks to movie magic. But the money is going to be split between me and Swamp Hopper. If I could spin off a Sherry Lynn, and there's a Sherry Lynn poster already available with her big truck. It's actually pretty much her trading card, the truck's trading card. That's pretty much the poster, except for it says Sherry Lynn up here. And the L is a 1911 handgun in red. So Sherry Lynn is a girl that I've known since 16. Had a crush on her. How could you not have a crush on her? Especially with her little monkey ears. I mean, everything is in detail here. And to create this character, I actually used a photo of her and fed it to AI. And there's going to be a big controversy about AI. I didn't This book was not made the way you think it was with AI. I made this book much like they do with the software that they use today. So the pencil people might complain, but the colorist who's out of a job because of the comic book apps today, and the inker who's out of a job because of the comic book apps today, they're not going to complain. But the pencil guy, the only guy left with a job, is the one complaining about AI while he sits there on his Mac pad using AI to fill in the colors and to trace his lines. Last but not least, this may never see the light of day. This is the Running Bear Gold card. I like the way the axe comes out. Huh? You like that? The axe is actually out of the frame. And let's see, number 3. The axe is inside the frame there. So these are the characters of our story. And I was going to read the story from a smaller book, but I'm going to start here. This is the cover. How's that looking? I'm going to take a look and see what you guys are saying. Sherry will be the next Farrah Fawcett. I'm telling you. And my odds are getting better every day. Every day she gets older. A suitor that beats me out, falls off, or dates her and breaks up with her. And my odds become better every day. I don't give up. I'm not a giver-upper. The 2 girls that I had a crush on since my teenage years are still at the top of my hit list. All right, here's the book. Let's start here. It says the exaggerated stories of the real life of a real life man, Swamp Hopper. Hey, I'm the real life Swamp Hopper. And wait, we're going to do a read through. Hopefully I'll have Sherry here for that. But wait till you hear Swampy's voice when he reads his character, because it's like 3 octaves deeper than mine. So it's going to sound way better. So it says, hey, I'm the real Swamp Hopper, some guy with a big YouTube channel, and I was referring to the Intel channel, not this one, wanted to make a comic book about me, so I let him. The first one turned out great. I hope you enjoy reading them all. Now, I wrote this after this was done, so I didn't guess here. And then the next panel says, howdy, I'm Sherry Lynn. So I try to get a hook in him here, and I'm going to try and get a hook in him here. Howdy, I'm Sherry Lynn. Someday I'll tell you about the creator, Bobby Paul. He has a very interesting backstory. It's guaranteed to drop your jaw. Visit me later on the back page, inside cover, to find out more about Swamp Hopper comics and maybe get some free stuff. Now, we already learned. I'm going to take you there now. That's what they're going to find. This goes to the swamphopper.com, which we own, and it's up, but there's nothing on it. It's just a blank page, but it's up there. If you rang this, it would take you there. Jumbo trading cards, I went over that. Free digital comics. Today, we launched Webtoons. So the Ashcan comic, the 8-page Ashcan comic that I'm going to send 4 or 5 to the top 50 comic book companies, at 1 in each state. I'm sending a pile of these with the trading card. I'm going to have this part autographed. The autographed part will be autographed. I'm sending them. I'm going to say, please give these to your 5 favorite customers or put them on your freebie table. So people will be able to come along, take the Ashcan with the trading card, turn to the back page. Hopefully when they get done reading the 8 pages, they're interested enough to go to swamphopper.com or here, which will be before the launch of the Kickstarter. See how I'm lining stuff up here? So I'm going to mail these about a week before I launch the Kickstarter. So they have a week to get there, and then we got a 30-day Kickstarter. I'm not asking you to get involved in the Kickstarter. I'm not asking for any money. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, okay? This is not a fundraiser today. We're just having fun, all right? So created by Robert S. Paul, story by Robert S. Paul, pencil and art direction, Robert S. Paul. I did a lot of pencil at the beginning till I figured out a better way. And the better way is, for instance, I had to create a model of a cow. And then I had to create a background. So I wrote out the background that I wanted. And then I described the kind of cow I wanted. And then I told AI to put the cow in the tree. In this tree. I had to make this. AI can't figure this out. I had to make that for AI. So it's basically, if you remember, if you're old enough, to the toy color forms, they were like vinyls things, and you put them all over the page, all over the cardboard design, and it was like Mickey Mouse and the Mickey Mouse Playhouse, and you put Mickey here and Donald Duck here, and then you could take them off later and move them around because they were just vinyl stickers. They weren't sticky back, they just cling to the cover. That was basically the process that got me through this book. Okay, and this is the Swamp Hopper that I drew, and you're about to meet the improved Swamp Hopper through the AI. Again, pencil people aren't going to like it, but the only people who make comic books, as far as drawing comic books, is about 0.5% of everyone who wants to do comic books, and 99.9% of those people can't tell a story. I have the gift of storytelling. So I needed an artist, and this is my artist. And each one of these pictures were like that. Okay, Swamp Hopper's first night home. We're on this panel. Swamp Hopper's first night home after 6 weeks mission with his National Guard Special Forces group. So we learn a little about him. If you could see this clearly, you would see there's actually a fan boat, an airboat out in front of the cabin, and Swampy asked for some deer antlers up there, so I got those in there. This is a key frame here, the information given. There's only a couple drops on how he gets his superpowers. And I'm actually making a Webtoons comic right now to explain how he got his superpowers, and it's a very interesting story. Swampy only makes arrows from the same tree that gave him his amazing abilities. Next frame. Running Bear to Swamp Hopper, 1017. 1017 means this is kind of an emergency, but it's not death. Swamp Hopper here. Go ahead, run. Go ahead, Running Bear. Running Bear says, welcome home, brother. Welcome home, brother. Your wolf gave birth to some beautiful pups while you were gone. That's the only good news I got. And Running Bear says, the Sasquatch are raising hell. It's only a matter of time before they attack. 10-4, looks like I'll have to wait to see the pups, says Swamp Hopper. And then a Running Bear says, meet me at the snake pit at sunrise. We got some work to do. 10-4 over. Okay, this panel's really dark on purpose. It's probably a lot darker where you're at. Let me look. Yeah, it is a lot darker than you're at. But you can't, if you have the magazine, you can see there's 3 Sasquatch there shaking this thing. And I wanted it dark because there's 2 frames that are very dark, and the other frame you could really feel the fear because it's exactly the type of dark that you have. And I was very instrumental on the light in each one of these frames. It was intentional. The dreary feeling of the swamp was very intentional. Tonight, the roar of the Sasquatch can be heard beyond the edge of the county. And then this is the 00 Platinum card, Miss Lily. Stop, you wicked bastards. I'll hunt you down. There are 3 swear words in this book. Piss off, bastards, and damn. That's it. The subject matter might be a little strong for younger viewers. That's up for you to decide. But nobody nobody gets shot. There's guns. Nobody ever gets shot. No bullets are ever shot. The Sasquatch have passed the Rubicon. The peace treaty of 1855 has been broken. Oh, I forgot to read the frickin' bottom, which was important. The silence in the swamp is deafening. The people of Blackwater County are in for a level of terror they had not been seen since 1855. If you go on the internet, you'll find out that there is a lore that in 1855 there was a peace treaty between the Sasquatch and the Indians and the whites. The Indians and the whites together were fighting the Sasquatch. So the Indians and the whites teamed up against the Sasquatch, and there was a peace treaty made. So if you dig a little deep on Google, the first thing it says, this is false. How do you know, Google? Were you there? Like Google was invented in what, 1992? And they're telling us what happened in 1855, please. All right, the Sasquatch have passed the Rubicon. The peace treaty of 1855 has been broken. And you can see that's a very dark frame. You can't see. But trust me, it's a dark, dark frame. And that's on purpose. It's just before daybreak. Hopper is heading to the snake pit after a tasty deer liver omelet. Now, this is where the ash can starts. The ash can includes this first page and then pops to this. Damn apes, I better not find one scratch on my bike. And if I had more light on this, which I'm not going to because it'll put a glare, you'll see the motorcycle is down here. And then he's getting rocks thrown at him. Bam, boom, varoom, kind of jumps a little rock there. And then he ends up where he's supposed to be at the snake pit. This, as we met earlier, this is Running Bear. You're 7 minutes late. Heavy Bigfoot traffic. Whoa, sugar lips. Bigfoot is a derogatory term. Oh, you mean like Washington Redskins? Ha ha ha. So what brings me out here at the crack of dawn on my first day home? Remember, he's in the National Guard Reserves. He's Special Forces. And then we have, Running Bear is pointing out, that's a 1,500-pound dead Holstein 80 feet up a tree. And this imprint is from a mature male Sasquatch. It's getting dimmer in here. Am I going blind? This is a bad omen. The Trilateral Peace Treaty of 1855 ended the war between the natives and the whites against the Sasquatch tribes. These recent actions mark the end of that agreement. Hey, Running Bear, yeah? Don't move. There's a rattlesnake wrapped around Running Bear's leg. He's got the arrow out, and bling, he gets the rattlesnake, and Running Bear looks down and says, lunch. Then we move over to the tree. Our hero climbs up the tree with the greatest of ease and knocks the 1,500-pound Holstein to the ground, screaming Geronimo. Running Bear says, the people of Blackwater County need you, Hopper. You are an army of one, and we need an army. Hopper says, I'm sorry, Bear, I can't do Sheriff Bolo's job. Peace treaty? 1855? This one is too big for me. The next page. His heart sinks as his heart sinks into his stomach. He feels as if he's about to throw up. He just pulls up at Miss Lily's trailer. Miss Lily, Miss Lily. Or it should be Miss Lily, Miss Lily. And it says, she was like a mother to me as he carries her dead body out of the trailer. Next scene, the sheriff shows up. The trailer must have blown over from that storm last night, killing Miss Lily. There was no storm last night. Miss Lily was killed by those damn dirty apes. Swear word number 2. Boy, I can't go writing police reports about Bigfoot. You're the reason she was in this trailer. You took her farm for that land development you got your hands in. Here we go into the Bigfoot fight, ladies and gentlemen. If you can see, there is a giant Bigfoot about to jump our hero. If you notice, this is the face change. This goes from my swamp hopper to the other swamp hopper. And here we have this is the cover of the comic book. And then these are almost my 3 favorite frames. Like snapshot, 1, 2, 3 on the ground. Here we have, if you can't see it, Swamp Hopper getting chased by Sasquatch. And Swamp Hopper hears a loud voice deep in his head. Your kind killed my offspring. The fight begins. And again, he hears in his head, your kind killed my offspring. Now, using these type of word bubbles nowadays is a big no-no, and they want you to use these, but I thought it was necessary, really, to communicate. And if you notice, I shaped the word bubbles always the same, even on the first page. So anytime Sasquatch speaks, it's the same shape of a word bubble. Beautiful. This is what they call a splash page. Let's see how well that's showing up pretty good. Look at that beautiful splash page. The whole thing, no words. It's gorgeous. Here he takes a punch, and then Swamp Hopper gets a little strength back, goes for a kick to the chest, and says, may God help you if I find one scratch on my bike. The reason there is a lot of the scratch on the bike lines or jokes, if you want to call them jokes, they're not quite jokes, they're character identity markers, I would say, is because I was talking on the phone with Swamp Hopper and explaining the scene, and he said to me directly, there better not be a scratch on the bike. And that's like a typical response from a guy who owns a Harley. But he said it as himself. He didn't say it as a character. He was saying, while looking at this frame back here, where they're throwing rocks at Swamp Hopper, he's saying there's better not be a scratch on that bike. So I added it. Here's a giant, here's a beautiful picture. You still see the bike. Remember, he got knocked down. See, the AI doesn't do this. I had to do this. To give a trade secret here, I made this background with that bike in the ground. It took me forever to get AI to lay that fucking bike on the ground. Pardon my French. It would not lay it on the ground. It had it on the kickstand for about 3 hours. And I actually finally physically had to cut it out and lay it down, and it looked ridiculous. But AI got the idea, and AI laid the bike down in the grass or in the dirt. Okay, so the background here, these characters are put in afterwards. I had a background, the same background I used here, same background here, same background here, same background here. It's all the same background. This one might be a different background, but these are all the same background. And the intention was, when we get to this point, you still see that bike laying on the ground. We never lose the point of reference of where we're at in the story. Again, Swamp Hopper says, I love that bike. It's a 1942 World War II Harley. It's a flathead engine. 42 cubic inch, by the way. Well, that, and then the fight's over. Bigfoot is struggling to get up. The bike is still in the background. Swampy's fixing his gloves, and he says, well, that went better than I thought it would. Me too. And then we hear again, your kind killed my offspring. Now, if you could see, he has a bear trap in his hand. And then, I love this frame. You could see it. Sasquatch quietly walking off. Swampy is watching. And there's no words in the frame. It's a beautiful picture. I don't know if these beautiful cobalt blue colors are showing up, but they're in there. This is where we're going to stop these last 2 pages. Now, it took me a very long time. Actually, this picture is a real sunrise that I watched happen at work about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I took a picture of that sunrise and I put it in that picture. And this boat I drew and put into the computer with a white background, and I have a model of this boat with a white background, and I kept battling. I mean, this is a very simple thing to draw, the size of the fan. So the background was made. I drew a picture of a boat, of an airboat. I uploaded it because I wanted the boat to be 8 feet by 22 feet. And it kept giving me this. So I had to actually draw what I was going. I want a lot of deck on there so we can have action in other episodes. Notice the bag. I put the bag there. If you can't read that, it says Hopper's Guide Service. So I intentionally made these 3 frames to look like about 7 minutes in time, where the purple sky is still the night kind of burning off. And then the orange burning sky with the yellow and the oranges kind of coming in, and just a bright yellow. So this is like a matter of 7 minutes of time. And this is probably my favorite page because I was able to capture purposefully the sunrise as it goes on. So let's start here. It's time to see the pups. We're talking about is wolf Neshoba. Neshoba is Choctaw Indian for wolf. And we actually have a lot of Choctaw cryptids that we could get into. It's time to see the pups. I'll bring Neshoba a big bag of meat. She's likely not hunting too far from them pups. The last time she gave birth, she went back to the place she was born. I'll start looking for her there first. And then this broken tree, that's a warning sign from Bigfoot. Trees that big don't break 12 feet up on their own. Shinoba, here girls, Shinoba. I probably read that wrong. Here he is. It says, another Bigfoot warning. I'm walking through its living room. And there is a stack of sticks in a teepee fashion. And then finally, he found Shinoba. Shinoba, I missed you, girl. I'm so proud of you, mama. And then on the next page, we meet the pups. I'm going to do a spoiler right now. One of the pups is solid black, and we may see it in later episodes if we get that far. All right. I'm going to read a little chat. Awesome sunrise. I agree. Judy says, Jesus be with us and go bless your families. Good night, Gibby. Sorry you had to go. Probably going to work. And Judy says, I'm going to have to jump off here, guys. Have to heading out. The temps went way from 85. Yeah, we're like that same thing. We're about 38 here, too. Okay. So let's look at the business side of this. Let's see what I wrote down. First of all, we did launch today on Webtoons, and Webtoons only consists of about the first 8 pages, but I am writing the backstory right now to how he got his powers. Okay, I did find a list of indie comic film companies that will take submissions of comic books. And I have the top 10 list, the ones with the most money and the most production. And I'm going to start there first after we do our first printing. Within about 3 or 4 minutes of me uploading to Webtoons, we had 10 views and 2 subscribers. Not even 10 minutes. As soon as I launched them, we had 10 views and 2 people who subscribed for more. I basically broke up the first 8 pages, actually probably 10, because I did the cover, I did the inside. I did this. I skipped these two. And then I started here for the next 6 pages. And I ended on where he gets jumped by Bigfoot right here. So I broke these pages into 3 separate short episodes because that's how you get subscribe. They won't encourage people to subscribe to your Webtoons comic book until you get 3 episodes in. So I purposely did 3 episodes, and as of 10 minutes after we launched, we had 2 subscribers, and I'm not one of them. And Swampy's not one of them. These are complete strangers because we had these people before I even told anybody that we have a Webtoons now. So I am going to be moving a lot of this stuff over to the swamphopper.com page. Or at least I'm going to have links to and about. Oh, the t-shirt. Let's open up the t-shirt. I bought a t-shirt. I was going to have t-shirts made, but I thought I'd see what it's like to have this new t-shirt company. It's not the same t-shirt company we've been doing. This is another one. And I can launch these. Every time I launch this, for 3 days, it's $16 for a t-shirt. I think because I'm a 3X, they charge me $17. I could be wrong. So let's take a look at the t-shirt. This is what we call the hero shirt. Feels good. Looks good. Might not be long enough. Look at that. That's the hero shirt. That is the Swamp Hopper hero shirt. See, it's not very long, but I'll just have to put it underneath like a long sleeve. But that's why I had some, and it's still kind of moist. I don't think they cured this right because it's still sticky. We'll find out. It shouldn't be sticky. It does feel wet. I've made t-shirts before. I don't think this thing got cured correctly. Anyway, I'm going to have a couple of these made. If mine didn't get cured, I'm sure that's pure chance. I don't think it's going to be a problem with everything. That's weird though. It's not dry. It's not wet. But I know they have to heat these things. So that is the hero shirt. I paid $16 for it. If I launch the same design again, if any of you guys want one of these, let me know. I'll launch the design again. I'll send you the link, and then you can get the same $16 deal that I got. I'm going to buy Swampy's, and I'm still going to go to the printing shop down the street and have them made. The only difference is this might be shiny. It already actually is shiny. But I'll have to talk to Killer Fuzz, who's bought a lot of t-shirts from this company, and ask if that ever felt tacky, is the word, tacky. If I wash this right now, I wonder what would happen. I don't want to know. But it looks damn good. If I can get the thing, I'm not saying they didn't dry the ink, but it don't feel like it. I felt this before. And anyway, so I think it's a fantastic design. So let's get into everything else. I need a sip of my Rainstorm Valencia Orange. All right. So pricing. The Ashcan Comics. Again, these little puppies with 8 pages. This is what 8 pages means. Let's pretend this was a 4-page magazine. This is how they do it. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. So I'm not doing an 8-page, I'm doing a 12-page, and then it's an 8-page inside, and then the cover brings it up to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can get an 8-page 12 total with the cover. Ash can, the ones I'm going to mail out to the top comic book store in each state, 84 cents each. If I buy 300, the base price is $2.52. Now I have to pay $5 setup on each page. So 5 times 12 is 60. So add 60 to that and add 50 for shipping, because their shipping's usually between 35 and 50. And they ship at UPS with foam in it. You know, they spend a lot of money on how they package it. And then the full mini. So the full mini is going to be the 28 pages. And the reason why 28 pages is a big deal, because the average comic book today, again, is 20 pages. And this DC comic is 16 pages. Which means there's only 4 pieces of paper in here, folded in half. There's only 4 of these to make that book. Mine's 28, so mine's 7 pages. 7 times 4 is 28. So there's 7 pieces of paper, not including the cover, that go into it. I do like this better. Okay, this is much more affordable, and I can grow. If I was able to sell these for $5 with 28 pages, 8 pages more than today's comic book, and I paid $1.84, and I could flip it for $5, I could afford to take that money and make 2 more comic books. It's not going for $5. It might on eBay after everything's said and done, and I only got a few left. I might do something like that. But if I buy full mini, 28 pages, $1.84 to print, if I order 150, that's $2.76 plus $5 for each page setup, 28 pages, that's $160 plus the $2.76 plus 50 shipping. So $325, we're basically looking at $400. Probably a little below $400 to get 150 minis. Now I priced out 2 standards. If I do 200 standard size comics, which is right here, and we're going specifically using this printer because he's the only printer that will do newspaper print affordably. No one else will do it. They want to do the heavy paper that goes through the this machine, this is going through a full press. This is going through a full old-fashioned press, and these can be made on a printer in your home, literally. And they are, but a big, expensive $6,000 printer, and then you pay some printer who has one of those to digitally make one of these. And the paper inside is the same as the cover paper. And this is the old-fashioned comic book with the newspaper print. So 200 of those is $512 plus the page setup. That's another 160. So that's $672 plus 50. Now we're probably looking at $70 shipping. So we're probably looking at like $725 to get 200 of these. So if I turn around and I sell it for $5, I'm really paying, I don't know, I'll have to figure it out, but it's probably close to $350 or $375 maybe each for each one of these. So if I sell it for $5, I'm not even making my money back, but I'm not trying to make money at this. I'm doing this for fun for the channel, and I'm doing it because I think it would make a great movie. Bigfoot frickin' sells. One of the famous comic book writers, I think it was Jack Kirby, said, you put a girl, a monkey, and a motorcycle on the cover of a comic book and you'll sell 1 million. Now, in our comic book, we did this traditional box up here, and in that box is Sherry Lynn. So on our old school covers, we did an old-fashioned 1980s style comic book cover that says You remember it would say Marvel Comics in a stripe across here. I got one within arm's reach. Usually. Well, anyways, an old-fashioned Marvel comic book. Had that stripe across the top, and it said Marvel Comic Group. It said Marvel Comic Group across the top right there. So we have our girl, and I think it was Jack Kirby who said that you put that the monkey, a motorcycle, and a girl on a cover, you'll sell $1 million. So on those particular covers, which will only be available in the Kickstarter, except for actually the ash can has the old fashioned, except for where the price is, it says free right below Sherry Lynn's, like right here, and the top says number 000. And then below it, it says Sherry Lynn, and then below it in that box says free. Those are the only 2 covers that we have in that style. And so I don't know, maybe we'll sell 1 million copies. But the worst way to make money in the whole world in a production style job, and I would definitely call comic book making production, because it's a production line to get it done, even if before they fired the colorist and before they replaced the inker with a computer program, those guys would send each other the work. Even if they weren't in the same building, they'd put it in the FedEx, and then the guy would get the box of pencil drawings, and he'd do the ink, and he'd send it to the color guy, and the color guy would fill in the ink, and then they would send it to. So it was a process of manufacturing. The worst way in the world to try and make money is in comic books. If you want to waste a shitload of money, you get into comic books. And for an independent artist or writer, story writer, to hire a comic book, a pencilist, an inker, and a colorist, or even just a pencilist who will do the ink and the color on his iPad, you're looking at $6,000 to $14,000. So you got to write the story, then you got to pay these guys to give you the raw artwork, then you got to take that raw artwork and you got to go to a printer. So because I'm doing this in little steps, I get to spread out the $1,300 or so that I'll be spending on this project, maybe $1,500 that I'll be spending on this project. I'm not dumping it all at once. By the way, if you need a vacuum cleaner, the Dyson Ball Animal 3 is on sale on eBay, and there is a code. It's Dyson Clean. I don't know. I'll post the code in the post area of this channel. It's only for this weekend, the big sale, $199. They're refurbished. I have had the greatest luck with refurbished items. I've always found them to work way better than the model that was shipped from China and sucked. And when you get a refurbished thing, it's always refurbished in the United States. The Dysons are actually refurbished in Chicago. So you're going to get a hell of a get. With the coupon code, I paid $179 out the door for my Dyson. So if you need a Dyson, go on eBay. I'll find the code and I'll post it in the post section of this channel. So this is where we're at with our story. And for those of you who are just joining us, where did I put it? I can't wait to get Killer Fuzz on the phone and ask him about this tackiness. Something don't feel right about that with me. I mean, I could. No, I can't. I was going to say I could put it in the oven. But to wind down here, I'm going to look at the chat in a second. Oh, I'm giving away pages there. I shouldn't have did that. But I am going to, as we wind down here, I had a lot of fun on this project. It's going to be worth a $1,500 investment. It's another thing I did. I experienced something else on this planet that was a lot of fun. And just like when I say I want to build a chuck wagon, I wanted to do cartoons since I draw comic books since I was a little kid. I've tried a million times. I made my own comic books and couldn't find a stapler or use tape to try and tape the pages together. And I did it, and it's done. And if you would like one, I've got one for you. If you don't want one, that's okay. But if it gets optioned into a movie and you didn't buy a copy of the comic book, you might be sorry, because there's going to be less than 500 of these comic books on the face of the earth. You know, besides whatever sells on Amazon. But as far as these original OG newspaper print comic books, this is it. I mean, it's going to be 150 of this size, 150 of this size. Very doubtful I'm going to do 200. I don't think I'm going to sell 200. And 300 of the ash cans, the 8-page ash cans, and that's going to be it. So it's probably going to be more like 300, less than 400 copies of a full comic book on this planet. All of the ones coming from Kickstarter are going to be cheap. I don't need you for Kickstarter. I mean, not that I don't need you, but I don't want to. If I'm going to ask one favor of you, it's going to be to buy the digital $1 download on Amazon. Now, one more important thing. I have to sell the comic book on Amazon for $6 because it cost a little bit under $5 to print it. And if I sell the comic book for $4 and it costs Amazon, and Amazon charges me $5 for the printing of it because it's print on demand, then I owe them $1. So in anticipation of price increases, the cheapest comic book you could find that's printed on demand on Amazon is $6.99. I'm going to go $6. I'm going to hope there's not a price increase. And I'm going to pay close attention, and when it is, I'll just take it down and the digital will be available until I can get it back up or change the price. But because I'm not doing this to make money, I'm doing this to multiply. The more, the merrier. I'd rather sell 1 million and make 20 cents than sell 10,000 and make 30,000. You know what I mean? I'd rather have a higher increase of sales than the money, than how much money I'm getting, or splitting, I should say. So let's read the chat. We're going to Hollywood. Yep, Hollyweird. They probably put in the package too fast and didn't let some of the air get in. Okay, I hope you're right. I'm just going to let it air then. I appreciate that very much, Gibby. And I'm getting 5 stars from definitely very well illustrated comic. Nice. Thank you. And I promise that the store, I stopped this thing 2 pages before the story twisted. And did you notice that for the pages that I read, that every 2 pages there was action? Every 3rd page, I got action. I couldn't, 2 reasons I couldn't get through a Spider-Man comic book when I was a kid. They sat there, it's 2 people talking to each other for 5 or 8 pages, tiny little squares, and I couldn't read the freaking tiny words. That's a very important part of this. Look at how gigantic that is. Tell me you can't read that from where you're sitting outside of St. Louis. All right? I'm outside of Chicago. You're outside of St. Louis. Look how big those letters are. The letters are so big. in most cases, I can't fit everything in the frame. But there's barely 30 words here. And each page, the story is so good. This gets a little talky, but we got a snake on the third page. There's not a big need. Now, this is a little talky because we're doing some setup. But look, there's like no words. Let's get past this. Okay, that's a little bit important. But there's not a lot of words. There's not, the whole book doesn't need words. There's so much can be done with story. So I want to thank you guys very much for joining me tonight. I'm glad I got to share this with you. I'm very proud of this. I am so glad I thought to ask Swamp Hopper if he minded me doing this, because the Swamp Hopper that has always been in my head is right here now. You know, I mean, he doesn't have an eye patch, but I did. You know, he didn't go to Sedona, but I did. So I get to interject a lot of my stories into this character, you know, or a lot of my little things, you know, like the eye patch. Like I get to, you know, I don't get to be Swamp Hopper, but I get to create Swamp Hopper based on the form that God gave me to start with, the real Swamp Hopper. So that is fun. It's fun to be able to have these, put connections into this character. And I swear this is really close to the real Swamp Hopper. Outside of that eye patch, that's freaking Swamp Hopper. I mean, that's him. Today, Swamp Hopper went bow fishing. Bow arrows. Today, Swamp Hopper went bow fishing. And it's there on the page. The stories, the exaggerated stories of a real life man. Let's take a second to pray. Dear God, please help the children around the world who are experiencing things beyond our imagination, and the attempt to corrupt their soul and destroy their bodies. Please let that end now. Please give our president the clarity to see the truth behind whatever conflicts he's getting into. Please keep us and all of our loved ones safe. Please bring prosperity to our group. And thank you for loving us. Amen. All right, y'all. Michigan Swamp Hopper says, let's see. Craig says, long time since I've seen you, Red. Yep, I'll show you me soon. We made a comic book about one of you guys in the audience. And Michigan says, I think it's absolutely great that you did. Wonderful job. Good artistry, good storyline, and should be proud. Just awesome. Thank you. And just so y'all know, Swampy read the whole thing today, digital version. RMD0303 says, great storm ahead for Red and Swampy. Great effort on the organic masterpiece. Amen. I can't wait for you guys to see the oh, here we go. There's the original art. And the 99¢. Actually, the Kickstarter is going to have, everything's going to be marked 99¢, because in 1988 a comic book was 99¢, and this is the 1988 style of cover that Marvel used. So only, and I think I got it marked 000. So instead of one, it's the ones with these off prices say 000. So that'll make it much more of a collector's item also, besides the fact that there's only 150 of them printed. And they're autographed by the real Swamp Hopper and the creator, me. So peace and love worldwide. Thank you for your time tonight. May everybody be blessed in some way this week, and may God put a smile on her face and remind us of who he is in a beautiful way. Amen.